Shall we dive in? I think we've given everybody enough time. Thank you guys for joining us today. I'm going to be passing it off to our amazing March leads, Sherry Duncan and Nataza Kahazi, who will be presenting our presenter. So I'll pass it over to you, Sherry.
Hello, everyone. My name is Sherry Duncan. I'm an information security leader. I'm quite sure you guys have seen my name, heard my name. So I just introduced myself. Now we're going to introduce Chioma. She's going to be our presenter for today. She's a founder, a president of STEAMDivas. Not only that, she's an author. This lady is absolutely phenomenal. Today she's going to tell about her products and take it away.
All right. Thank you, guys. I'm really appreciative of this opportunity. I've been so excited for the whole week. So hi, everyone. For those I haven't met yet, I am Chioma Aso, the founder and principal consultant at Polymathrix Engineering. At Polymathrix, we solve one of the most expensive problems in tech: how to move from a successful prototype to a stable production system without structural collapse. Now, most teams can build something that works in the lab, and what's much harder is building these products that work thousands of times reliably in a messy reality of the world that we're living in. And this is where we specialize in building the systems that enables these companies to do that. So let's go to the next slide, please. So everyone loves a prototype. You know, it's the hero of the lab, it's the hero of demos. But a prototype that's working in a bench is a world away from a product that is coming off an assembly line. So today I would unpack the exact structural framework that we use that is required to transition from prototype to mass production without a company collapsing under the load. So when we hear about scaling, most people think about building more units, but scaling isn't just about building more units. You must also evolve your architecture, your validation rigor, your operating governance to make sure that you survive the growth when you add more products to your line. Next slide, please. So let's look at the hard truth of this transition, right? A prototype is about proving a concept in a controlled environment where you have the flexibility to fail and you can iterate real fast. Production, on the other hand, is the opposite. It demands reliability. The design has to be locked, extreme efficiency at volume. And we've seen this happen so many times. What works perfectly in your lab will break when it hits production. And our goal is to anticipate those breaks, right? Look through your systems. Like, let's see what happens before they actually happen. Next slide, please. Usually, when we start a production, when we get the first unit out, that's a triumph. When we get to unit 10, we're like, success. Unit 50, we're high-fiving each other. We're like, that's what we're talking about. But by the time we get to unit 289, that's the number I'm always experiencing. I see what we call the ghosts in the machine. That's when they all appear. At this time, we start encountering like subtle tolerance stacks, you know, like you know, usually when you buy your parts, they come within 200 packs. So you start seeing the slight shift in tolerance stacks. You start seeing software timing drifts, you know, your supply chain variations. Sometimes your supply chain is like, we can't produce that product the same way anymore. So production requires rigorous hardening, because on your way to building like 10,000 units, unit 289 will find your weaknesses. Next slide, please. So as you move from validation to tooling and ramp up, your risk doesn't just grow like that. It accumulates and it compounds. And typically, for those of us that is in robotics or manufacturing, this is what they call the valley of death. And this is where traditional engineering teams often hit their ceiling. And you know they're great at building prototypes. They're great at performing demos. You see the robots flipping all over the place, and you're like, this is great. But they aren't always equipped to transition that one product to production. And that's where we intervene, right? We come in and we build the systems that allow them to scale. Next slide, please. So our approach is centered to what we like to call the operating model authority. And this is kind of what we call a governance structure that allows complex systems to scale safely. So we do this by focusing on three things. The independent governance. And this is how we keep execution aligned with the strategy of the company. Look at risk mitigation. That's how we catch non-linear failures before they burn the capital of the company. And we build this underlying system that empower the people to execute. Next slide, please. So to operationalize this, we developed the scale-up audit framework. We evaluate organization across 5 critical pillars. The pillars are architecture, sim to real, V&V and compliance, manufacturing and operating model. And these 5 pillars we have seen all throughout time through all kinds of manufacturing, that in one of them is weak, they are the exact predictors of how successful or how unsuccessful a manufacturing production is going to work. So if one is weak, the whole structure is at risk during a production ramp up. I'm going to try to talk a little bit. So I have we had to create a way for us to keep this data. And for us at Polymathics, we have what I like to call the audit engine interface. Now, we all know that frameworks are great. I talked about 5 pillars and they're useful for thinking. But once we're able to operationalize those frameworks, that's when they become powerful. So we didn't want to just like give out like 5 pillars and tell people to go out and help yourself. We decided that understanding, using our aerospace understanding, our manufacturing calculations, and everything we needed to understand about risk on how this is going to happen, the maturity, our confidence level, we decided to build the audit engine and turn these signals into something that is measurable and actionable. So on our audit engine, you're going to see one of the tab I'm showing you right now, because I couldn't really show everything, is just a glimpse into what we call our risk heat map interface. And each one of this bubble represents a risk that we identified during the audit process. So we're identifying the risk, we're telling you the layer of how serious your risk is. And so we show you on a heat map, and we're also providing suggestions. If you could click, yeah. And so this is the export interface of the audit engine. So what we do now, with everything that we've gathered during our investigation of the audit, we put all this into 3 documentations, that 3 data that you can use. So once we identify the risk, we identify the maturity signals, we analyze it, then we convert that into these outputs. The key reports are, first of all, we give you an executive summary. So the leadership in your company can read it. It's very high level, very key points. And the next one, we provide a gap analysis. This is like for the technical leaders, so they can actually understand our calculation model, how we came up with our risk, and what they can do about it. And then the last one, we come up with a roadmap, and this is like a 90-day implementation roadmap that we use to help resolve the problem for the company once we have identified the issues that you see. So now I'm gonna dive a little bit deeper into each one of these pillars. I feel like that's gonna explain how we came up with this pillar for that we're looking at. So let's go to the next slide. The first pillar we're going to look at is the architecture. This is what we like to call the structural core. And the question we're trying to answer here is, can the architecture scale without redesign? Okay, we look at how the software, the hardware, and the infrastructure, how they interact. And if we find out that there's a technical debt or types coupling, like you want to change the sensor, and now we got to redesign the whole board, or anything that would cause scaling to become exponentially expensive. So what we're doing here, we're auditing the system to make sure that we sustain a production load without needing a total redesign of your product mid-ramp, right? In the middle, we're like, yeah, we can't get the supply chain to supply us that part anymore. So now we're going mid-ramp to start trying to redesign your PCB board. That's expensive, right? So this is like what when we're talking about the architecture pillar, this is some of the things that we're looking into. Let's go to the next slide, please. So the next one we're going to look into is sim to real. And I know that sometimes within other groups, they are like, aside from robotics, they're like, we don't really do simulation, but we also do a different type of simulation, right? Even when we're not building robotic stuff. This pillar is closing the gap between the digital model and the physical reality, right? So for robotics, you're doing an actual simulation of your robotic hand and trying to make it look like what it's gonna be like in the world. For like manufacturing products that is not using simulation in that sense, we do some sort of validation that does not necessarily require us to build the complete system, like some kind of prototype testing and all of that stuff. And that's kind of like where we do, like, okay, is this proof of concept? Does this work? And so we are looking at what you're doing. We're looking at all of your data from there. So we're asking that question, do these models actually match the real world behavior? Because this is great. You walk in on prototype, we're like, this looks good. Everybody's patting themselves on the back. And then you're trying to transfer this into production. And now there is a problem. It's so easy to make things look good on simulation. But it's hard to stay good when you add the real world noise, environmental chaos, attitudes of people. We just make sure that the sim actually reflects the real world. So there are no surprises when you're trying to deploy. Next slide, please. So this one is our V&V and compliance. This is verification, validation, and compliance. So this is where we do what we like to call the check and balance. So verification, did we build it right? Validation, did we build the right thing for the user? And then compliance, does it meet the market's legal and safety standards? This question is, can we prove the system meets the requirements and regulatory standards? So most times people, they're building a product, they're not thinking about what kind of license, what kind of compliance do we need to meet? Are you building for this small market? Are you going to be flying your products over a specific place, like you're building a drone? Do you need a license? Do you need FCC license if you're passing some data? Those are things that sometimes people are not thinking about when they're building a prototype. It's just one board, it's just one robot, it's just one product. So it's all good, maybe 10 maximum. But once you start trying to develop a lot out there in the marketplace, this is like mass deployment. So this is where we protect your brand, we protect your users, we protect you. This is where we avoid all kinds of lawsuits and stuff. This is the pillar that we're looking to. Now, the fourth pillar that we look at is the physical reality of scaling. This is the one that most people, this is where everybody finds the surprise, and we're asking, can this product be built repeatedly at production scale? A perfect design is completely useless if it cannot be built reliably, right? Or if a single supplier failure is like, oh yeah, we can't build this anymore, we can't find a part. And so sometimes people are not thinking about this, right? You build a product, you're using a bullets connector, you're connecting it, you're unplugging it, you're connecting, you're unplugging it, and you're not, that works, for prototype. But now you're trying to build for production, how often do you want to plug and unplug your stuff without destroying your molex connectors and shelf life? So those are things that we're hoping that the people who are the company they're looking into, but sometimes they miss those things. So this is where we step in and we're asking the question, can we build this product repeatedly? So we check all of your data to make sure you've done proper DFM, DFX, and we assess your sourcing, logistics, tooling, resilience, make sure that your supply chain is as robust as your engineering. And I think supply chain is one of those things that people don't think carefully about, right? They could start a product, they're like, well, we can supply you 200 parts, and they never get a backup supply chain. They never have other alternate sources of places. Then you have issues like a tariff situation, or they no longer can build the parts for you, or some kind of regulatory mess, and someone forgot to have alternate supply chain management or design that on their PCB. So these are things that sometimes companies don't look at, and so we check all of these things. Now, this is a pillar that most companies, people are aware, but the thing is, it's so complex that sometimes people forget, like, some certain things. So it's not a ding on most people. Most times when I've done audits on most companies, I always find out that DFM area, there's always a lack. I always try to tell people, bring us in when you're at, MVP or proof of concept, even better, at that point in time when you're like trying to build your next PCB board for what you want it to be, so we can at least check things out really early for you. So let's go to the next pillar. So now this pillar is one of my favorite pillars. I think a lot of people don't even recognize that this pillar is important, right? This because people forget that the human system controls everything. This is when I look at the stress test of a pillar, architecture is like in the middle, and we have the VMV and C validation pressing on the architecture, and then we have the DFM going out, because now you're exposing your company to external influences, because not you guys, you can't control the suppliers or things like that. But all of this stuff, they're laying on the foundation of the operating model, basically. So a lot of times companies are checking everything, but they're not looking at the human system. The question we're asking here, can this organization coordinate decisions under pressure, right? So even the best tech team fails if the team cannot coordinate. And and here we're looking at engineering governance, we're looking at the decisions rights and workflows, right? For a company to scale, the people and processes have to be just as engineered as the product itself. Recently I on LinkedIn, I saw someone was posting about a Tesla issue, where they noticed a problem before the product went into production. Well, now they're experiencing some issues, and some of the workers are coming back with feedback that they were having problems having the leadership, specifically Elon Musk, listen to their feedback. Now, if we had gone in, to audit the Tesla product before it went on scale, we would have caught this at the operating model pillar. We would have tagged it. We would have said this is an issue. Yes, granted, we would recognize that maybe there's some sensor issues and all of that. But when we are scaling you on the heat map, we're going to tell you that this is a high risk. We have a different multiplier that we use for operating models because of how important they are doing in our audit engine, and it identifies real quickly that this is something we need to address. And we frame this thought is so easy and so simple that every board member can understand that this is a problem without calling anybody's name. But we'll be like, if you don't have hierarchy, if you don't have a way that people are talking to each other, if you don't have ownership, if people don't know their role, Well, or leadership doesn't listen to anybody. Well, I don't think you're gonna have problem. You might be able to push out a product, but then you start having these issues that we're talking about. Let's go to the next slide, please. So we work in three distinctive phases, right? So our first phase is what I showed you with the engine, is we do what I like to call a tactical audit. We do a deep dive, gathering a lot of information from the company, doing a lot of interview, putting a lot of documentations together, and we give you your executive summary, your gap analysis, and your roadmap, right? So the second phase, this is what we like to call a 90-day implementation. This is just a minimum number of days that we actually do the work. And this is where we embed ourselves with your team, and so we're looking at 5 pillars initially. So sometimes the audit comes back and they'll be like, 3 of your pillars are good, 2 is bad. So in the 90-day implementation, we're fixing just the 2 broken systems. So we are fixing your weak pillars that we identified. And once we're done with that implementation, now we go to our third phase, where we're just basically checking in, more like a high altitude monitoring to make sure that you're on track. We check in, because we're giving you a schedule on what needs to get done when. So we're checking in. Are you on your schedule? Have you done this? Where what's holding you back? And so we're kind of like overseeing it at the third, more very hands off, right? Yeah, so this is the 3 phases that we walk in. But of course, this is like, if you're following us through the phases, the way that we actually work is that we can come in and break these phases up. We can do phase 1, and maybe looking at your operational model, we feel like you're not going to be able to implement, maybe you have a leadership system that we don't feel like they will allow us to be able to do our 90-day implementation. So we'll stop at your tactical audit. Usually we don't do the 90-day implementation without doing the tactical audit. And sometimes people are like, we're not ready to do the tactical audit right now, and we just want you guys to come in as a strategic overwatch right now, just to look at what we're doing. So even though ideally I prefer the 1, 2, and 3, I understand that people are working things differently. So the only phase 2 is contingent on phase 1, but we can always do phase 3 separately, and we can always just do phase 1 only if you want. So let's get the next one. So who do we work with? Who we partner with? Founders, that's trying to get on production ramp. Like I said, MVP, proof of concept. Companies that are in series, whatever, series A, series B, series C, from hardware, robotics, integrated systems. We're talking right now with a company that's in medical device. So we, as long as you're doing some kind of manufacturing, electronics product, usually, we've actually had our audit engine being used by an audit company before. So it's the audits engine is very like prototype to production scaling for most things, but we needed, even though we were able to do that, but we needed to get the different value for the calculation of the risk for the oil industry, because what's important for them varies from most of the things that we do in manufacturing. So here, we do this project. I'm not the only one working on this team, So I have what I like to call the bench. This is a team of vetted contractors, an expert, just like you guys, and they have one of those pillars where they support each one of those pillars remotely for the most part, except when we're doing the 90-day implementation and they have to go in and do something. And so reason why I'm pitching this right now is that if you have any deep expertise in robotics, manufacturing, compliance, hardware execution, technical program manager, we would love to have you on our bench. It's not, you don't have to leave your current role to be part of what we're doing. This is almost like, usually our audits take 3 to 4 weeks to do an audit engine. Our engine is also there to check what you're doing to make sure that there is a balance, but we rely heavily on the human input. the companies we look at, we don't jump into everything. Like I said, we could be looking at the company and we'll be like, well, I don't think we can move forward this company because of the 90-day challenge. So definitely, yes. We are really looking for people who can join our bench. I'm really excited, especially in trying to get women in front row and center. And that's why I was like, I have to come here. I have to talk about what we're doing. And I also know that some of us are in building our own industry. So I'm like, if you're trying to scale, yeah, we're here for you, right? So let's continue. Next slide, please. So so we can definitely continue this conversation after this presentation. We have a QR code for if you want to come connect with us and have us, you know, do an audit readiness, just very high level, and we can have a conversations about it. And if you want to join our bench, we can also contact me via LinkedIn. And I'm definitely really excited about what we're doing here. I want to see a lot of companies be successful. So either way, I will enjoy continue this conversation. You can visit our website is polymathicks.com. You can connect with me on LinkedIn, and I'm happy to take any questions or hear any thoughts.
Wow, fantastic. Thank you so much, Chioma. I am so excited. Everything you presented is amazing opportunity. And we've got some questions coming in the panel as well on the comment side. So please, if you've got questions while Chioma's here, let's ask. First one I see, Kavitha, you're welcome to come on and ask.
Oh, hi everyone. Hi, Alexis. So Chioma, I joined a bit late, but I saw some part of your presentation. It was really nice to see something different. Are you doing mostly hardware related work? I don't think it's not much of, I know it is a thing based on software because it's using AI and all that, but I think it's hardware work, right? When you say that you're asking for people to join you, it's more hardware, right?
Right. So there are different layers of expertise that we're looking for. So we have the manufacturing person is usually hardware. Seem to real, most of them are software simulations. They do simulation in software. The role of the TPM, there's some people who are technical program managers that are software people. So it's just basically most of the pillars are really hardware, but I think that we have like seem to real is actually software. I would say it's more software leaning, although some people say it's not because it's you're simulating into real world. But I think all simulations are software related.
And how does the program, like, how does this work? Because you said people can still be in their job and they can still help with this or work on this. So
yes. So yeah, we work project based. The way we do it, we get a project and we schedule 3 to 4 weeks out for the audit engine. So each one of our bench experts, they take a pillar and they do their interviews to whoever it is that they need to talk to in the company, and they determine all of the information that they need, and they create we have a database where they put all that information, and then they go to the audit engine and they audit the company. This is basically what they tell us. So there is a variability on when you go on there, unless there is some interfacing with some other part of the group that you people need to meet together. And most times what we offer is that we're looking at all your pillars together. So we're looking at if a change here is going to affect another pillar and all of that stuff. So most times there is flexibility to when you audit your things, where you can go in and put in your information. There's no necessity for us to sit down together. But the other time when we're doing the 90-day implementation, there is also some form of flexibility. This is where our TPM manages our time. So if your pillar is found as one of the pillars with an issue, and you need to connect with somebody on our team, or you need to connect with somebody in that company, then maybe you need to go in. So that also can be planned on your own time, on how long you think the implementation is going to work on. I do the overview, so I'm always on the whole process. I'm always on call. I'm watching the whole process. So someone like me in my role, and most likely the TPM, they cannot really be working the other job because the job requires a lot of at the project. Right now, because of the number of people we have, we're looking at managing just 3 projects for the year. So we're not really trying to get like 50,000 projects at the same time. So we're really like take one project and we work that project so we can give the client their expectation. So there's still flexibility as long as the person knows how to manage their time efficiently. Of course, it's 1099, and so we don't manage their taxes. We don't offer health insurance or things like that. So just basically, I look at it like if you have the time that you can dedicate to work on your pillar, then you can definitely do this with your job.
Okay, thanks, Chioma.
Wow, what a great experience builder. I feel like just going through this one time, you would learn a lot about not only your process, but so much working with the hands-on real world applications. Do you have any examples while we might be waiting for others to come up with questions for you, Chioma? Any examples of a recent project that you've worked on that you could share with us?
Yes. This was more or less my cousin's company, but she used the audit engine, and it's oil and gas, right? And so there was a company that was trying to open up a liquefied natural gas in Nigeria, and they had relied on Egypt, another oil company that had the oil field, and they were expecting that they were going to be the supplier for the LNG, the liquefied natural gas that we're going to get. So when they were looking at, there was a delay. We came in late, right, into the process. They were looking at the delay that, because they were having just the investors were like wanting some clarity, like when are you going to start building? And the piece of land that they bought where they were going to build their factory was based on the fact that they didn't want to use extended pipelines. So they bought something really close to the location of where the field that they were hoping to get their liquefied natural gas from. So before we even got into any kind of conversations with them and all of that stuff, we did a quick pillar run. This is just between our early conversation, and we flagged the supply chain as a problem because they only had a single supply chain person, which was this people, right? We just like, okay, you cannot have a single supply chain. First of all, even if you get another supply chain, you've tied yourself so strongly to these people because you pick the location. What are your alternate ways for you to pipe the gas to you? So we flagged that right away, and so in our conversation with them, of course, the early conversation, we say finding out that the liquefied natural gas that they were promised, how the oil well thing is, just because you have an oil block doesn't mean you have oil. So it was like, oh, there might be a problem with the deliverables, blah, 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 blah. But it was kind of interesting that by the time we did the quick audit, just by using our engine, we were able to detect right away that from the heat map that this is a high risk. And so that's just one example.
So interesting. Thank you for sharing something specific. For so many of us, we come from many different industries, so it's exciting to hear the oil industry is experiencing an upward trend, yeah, to say the least right now, Mumtaz. I didn't want to get too much into world supply chain these days.
Yeah.
Any other questions? I'm sure there'll be a lot more to come.
There's one question here from Vanessa. Vanessa, I just want to understand, what do you mean by in an industrial area? Do you mean like in a company that is existing in an area, or? Because that question was, have I applied it in an industrial area?
Sometimes there's a little bit of a delay. Vanessa, I know you may be coming in and out. Feel free to hop back on. She just wanted to clarify on your question. Well, hopefully we'll hear back. We'll definitely make sure we address it as soon as we can.
Thank you, Kavita. I'll look forward to it.
Fantastic. So the best way is we will connect with you. We're definitely going to be sharing it in our newsletter. We want to make sure everyone in the group can share their updates, but these opportunities for you to come here, I'm really glad you did, Chioma, because we've known a lot about you through STEAMDivas and other projects that you've been a part of, but this, for many of us, is the first glimpse into this area of your expertise, and it's really awesome to see it. Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
We're going to scroll through just some of our rest of the time items that we like to cover for the community. This is just an update to our main dashboard that we're using right now. And the reason that I say we're using it right now is it is bit.ly, where you can access everything for the HQ ambassadors. And all of our updates are here and have been updated for the month. So feel free to scan and access that. One thing that we've had on there, and it's an ongoing ask, if you can share at your International Women's Day events, share HQ. We want to attract ambassadors and people in tech across many programs. So as you are hosting these events, and we can reach people outside of the Google alums, we can go into the Microsoft network. We really want to make sure that we are able to invite as many ambassadors on who are interested in this peer-to-peer monthly activities that we are hosting and doing. And I'm going to wait to ask for April's volunteer and just do one quick showcase of what I'm running this month for the community. If you scan here, you are welcome to break the code with me. Right now, we've been using a bit.ly. It's great because it's a simple place for us to go, but by no means does it have the features, and we don't want to have to log in to 4 or 5 different apps to do everything that we want to do to connect. So we're inviting everybody to join with us to dream up the features that we want as a community. And there is a 4-step co-create. You don't have to come on live. You could do it whenever you've got a 10-minute break or a 5-minute break. You scan the beta app doc. It'll guide you through the 4 steps. Everything's on the doc that we need for your input, your feedback. And today what we want to share is the first poll if you're interested in being a co-creator. So this Bridge Builder app is our dream app for how we want to connect with ambassadors around the world who are going to join HQ. So whether it's looking for jobs, whether you'll see it, a list of features and wish lists. We've gathered them from all of our meetings, what we've all said we wanted, whether it's do products, presentations, demos. There's so many ways that we could be leveraging our network better as peers, and also be able to have it on an app that we could access 24/7. We don't have to wait for a meeting, or we have to wait to another month or another event. So the idea is that we have our 2-day in-person summit once a year, but we have this app that is like we can access it whatever we need to get as a community of tech makers. So if you have any questions on that, feel free to reach out. But this is open to anyone now, and you could sign the pledge, which is about being a tech maker. It sets up our values as a community. take the poll if you want to be a co-creator. This is going to ensure you get credits in the app that you helped create this app. So it's kind of a historic thing. And then when I build this live, we are going to be able to share the login with everyone next month so we can start using it together. So we are doing the beta creation and we are inviting everyone to be a part of it. So please feel free to share that with anyone who may not have been here today or that you think would have really great, valuable expertise. And I'll pass it back to you, Sherry, if you're still on the line to help us recruit.
Hello, hello. Great question. I saw that when you posted something earlier today that it said San Francisco. Are we rebranding to San Francisco or are we still using it for HQ?
Oh, great question. I just happen to have access to that admin, so I shared it with the San Francisco group, but I would love to share it with like as many. It's not, so the one on LinkedIn is just a group I'm a part of.
Okay, cool. No problem.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
But
I'll just make sure.
please share across all of them. If you're a part of a group, feel free to share on LinkedIn. I'll also share that LinkedIn post as well.
Okay, cool. And then the QR code right there is for April. People can do sign up for April.
Fantastic. Oh, Kavitha, I see you have a question. Yes.
Yeah. Hi,
What are the
Alex.
details about that? Yes.
I just want to ask, you showed something just before Sherry started talking. It was an app which you were talking about. Where can we find details of that app? Is it on LinkedIn or some other place that I can see it?
Yes. Let me go ahead and share I'll go back to the best QR code and then I'll grab that link. Right here, the beta app doc.
Oh, got it.
It's a live Google Doc to make it really easy for everybody to access. It'll guide you through the 4 steps, provide whatever input, feedback as you'd like and as we go along. Right now, step 1 and 2 are open for anyone to participate. And shortly next week and in the week following, we'll be doing the live building. So that step will open up soon.
Okay, got it. Yeah, I have taken the QR code, so I'll go there. Thanks, Alex.
Fantastic. Yes, thank you guys so much. And we're at the end of the session. We definitely want to recruit for April. And this is how we got you, Chioma, to provide such an awesome presentation. You have something you're building, you're creating, or something that you're a part of or that you learned and want to share with us as peers. We want to know. I mean, this is how we get to kind of expand our network and our opportunities. Like today, thank you again, Chioma. It is just not just knowledge, but it is expanding our opportunities together. So please don't be shy. Share what you're doing. Even if there's a few of you sharing different things. Yeah, Alyssa.
Hey, I think last time we talked about me serving as a host or a moderator for April.
Let's do it. Are you still game for that? We always like to confirm the month before in case anything changes.
Yeah, I just want to double check the date. I believe and just make sure put it in my calendar for sure. I think I did already, but I just want to like double check that.
Yes.
And then
we will. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, yeah. So I am excited to see. Okay, so let's see what that puts us at Tuesday. Which Tuesday? The 21st?
Third Tuesday, I believe. Third Tuesday of the month.
Okay, I got that as the 21st.
Yes, that sounds right.
Okay, fantastic.
Oh, perfect. Thank you. Yes, we always check back in because we know things change and everybody's really, really busy. So we're thrilled to have you and we'll lock you in as would you like to be host, presenter, or a combination? What are you thinking? You're welcome to think on it if you need.
You know, I love sharing the stage. So I'm happy to, sort of be a host or moderator, but I also have always plenty to say that I hope would be valuable and interesting. I could just kind of take a temperature here and see if there's an interest in it. One of the, I mean, because it's, really, well, let me start with, it's super valuable what you're putting together for us here as a community. And I think I speak on behalf of everybody, really appreciate it. I know it's a lot of work. And it's different and valuable from what Technovation, which is kind of now, kind of coming together, doing their best. I kind of unleashed on them in February when they're like, we're taking a survey. How do you feel? And I'm like, I hate Google. I hate Google. And I realized how annoyed I am with Google, and that's how I ended up coming, in my like little Microsoft circle. But then I realized I hate Google less because I'm like, I get it. I just want to give people the opportunity to get back to Google if they want to. And then we've had, like, even in the Microsoft student community that I'm part of, like, a lot of broken bridges. So many people who are on this call are also now part of the mentorship that we've put together, which is a peer mentorship, just like what you have here, which is a peer community. We now have 104 members of our community for this combination. It's kind of fun for me because I'm putting together different parts of my life, like the Microsoft student community with Women Tech Makers, with GDG Lead. So it's a co-ed group. And it's everybody who has a common goal of getting themselves to GDE or MVP. Or for some of them, they're kind of exploring both or have a commitment to being both. So that is something I'd be interested in. I think where it has universal application is what we do as tech makers is we coordinate events and we mentor and we speak and we blog and we do video and we do podcasts, whether we're hosting or guesting. And so I think that's kind of maybe what we can talk a little bit about is that opportunities for collaboration and also, I'm now moving into sponsorship, and I think I know even for the events that we help that's coming up, raising money and that's another thing we're kind of tackling in the mentorship too, is that some communities are like, we need money, we need resources. So those are things I can kind of address. Again, I share the stage with any and all, but those are things I could definitely cover, things that we're doing and some of the success stories from the mentorship, but also things that really have real application to you as visible leaders.
I love it. If anyone is interested in joining in with Philippa for April and talking about, I love the idea of collaborations, partnerships, whether it's some skills, some sharing tips, what works, what doesn't work, but that leads very seamlessly into fundraising. And so tips on that. I think there's a huge opportunity there. So anything that you were inspired, if you have expertise you could bring to the conversation, definitely scan the QR code, join Philippa. I want to join in on this one. I'm very excited about it because fundraising is a huge part of not just being a founder, but of what we're doing to make sure we can continue this community. So I think that's fabulous. I see it, Liz, you like the fab topic too. I have a feeling this is going to really resonate. Feel free, anyone, to come on and share your thoughts before we've got a couple minutes. But thank you, Philippa. This is going to be a very cool month. Hey, Liz.
Hey, thank you. First of all, Chioma, fantastic. Just kind of gave me insight into a whole new world, which I think is fun. And I spontaneously got more energy from you. I'm clearly in app land. I'm in a different part of software engineering and AI. And I just had a brainwave. I wanted to ask if anybody has any connections to folks working in cultural institutions. I'm thinking museums, art galleries, anybody using AI or thinking of using AI or in museum workflows. I have ulterior motives, but we're almost out of time. So I'm going to leave it there and just say, if you have any connections to anyone at a cultural institution, I'm doing a little bit of research around a project I'm working on that has to do with ambient computing. And it could, I mean, it's not just for my four walls. This brief research is going to have impact with larger companies. So I just need to meet somebody on the inside of those cultural institutions. I'm looking for contacts that I might make.
Fantastic. I'm just jotting down a quick note to make sure that's thrown into our newsletter ask as well for you.
Thank
I
you.
don't know if it's the exact right fit and or how welcoming they will be or what sort of public resources they have. When I first moved to Colorado, I had a very short stint working for the Museum Store Association. And that's the store part. And that's the kind of the club where all the stores hang out. But you might want to just look on their website and see what resources you can find.
I love it. You guys, this is so awesome. Cannot wait to hear more.
That gave me a great idea. Like, I guess after each meeting and in the newsletter, I guess if someone has an ask, put it in the newsletter so we can help everybody in the community.
That would be ideal if we could help everybody, and you just never know. And then we don't always have to be on live. It's great to see everybody when we can, but we all know the reality of our schedules. Thank you so much, Chioma. It was wonderful. Yes, Sherry, we're going to definitely do that idea. We've got topics for next time. We've got people excited. Thank you again. And I cannot wait. Enjoy your St. Patty's Day. I really do appreciate you guys and feel very lucky to have you today. So I know it's a cheesy thing to say on LinkedIn, but it's true.
Then I can tag team with Philippi as no one signs up.
Awesome. Thank you guys. Have a wonderful rest of the day. Enjoy. Celebrate something green.
Thanks for joining, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Appreciate you guys.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.